Welcome to Screen It or Stream It,
where we take a look at a movie that's in theaters now
versus one you can stream at home,
and we try to decide which one should you go with.
This week on Screen It or Stream It, we saw Blade Runner 2049.
We did. I was there.
For at least 3/4 of it.
I was there.
So, Blade Runner 2049 is a direct sequel to the original Blade Runner. And this time Ryan Gosling is the Blade Runner. And the Blade Runner's job is to hunt down replicants, which are basically cyborgs. Now,
Runaway cyborgs.
Well, in this one it's different from the first one because they were pretty much just chasing the runaway cyborgs. And this one they're chasing the old cyborgs.
Right.
Which I guess technically are runaway because they're being hunted.
Correct. The new ones can't run away or whatever, and the old ones still have not all been rounded up. So
the new and improved models are supposed to be okay. No one trusts the old models, so they're just basically being wiped out. And his job is not to find them and bring them back. His job is to find them and eliminate them.
Retire them.
And Ryan Gosling, he's a replicant as well, but he's one of the new models, so he's fine. And they test him every day to make sure he's not going crazy and whatever. And basically it's the story starts with him hunting down the last few remaining of these older replicants. They're the ones from the first Blade Runner movie. And we kind of go from there into a kind of a twisty plot of this miracle has happened. And what has happened is two replicants have given birth to a replicant,
and that should not have happened.
And so he's trying to figure out what's going on. He's trying to hunt down people who can help him, and he's supposed to be killing them, but all of a sudden he kind of doesn't know for sure if should I be killing them anymore. And he starts to kind of grow a conscience, and you get kind of a fight between his morality. Do I do it? Do I not do it?
The confusion for him came where normally the people he hunts down and retires, well, they're not people, they're replicants, are created in this chamber thing. This now person he's supposed to be hunting down was born, so he has kind of a cybernetic ethical crisis about it.
Does that give them a soul because they were born instead of a machine? And it's really hard not to say more than that without spoiling, because it is a twisty movie. They do throw a lot of things at you there, but that's the basic premise of it. So what are we going to rate it?
All right, we got together and we were all over the spectrum on this. We averaged out to 2 stars. So, we've got Ridley Scott movie. We've got A-list actors, including Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford. That's not a spoiler. He was in the trailer. So, 2 stars?
2 stars.
What's going on?
So, this was slow. Slow is an understatement.
Calling it slow is kind of putting a shame on all movies that are slow, because this one was really slow.
And I love a slow burn. I love a movie that takes its time and it kind of draws out. But this one just feels like we're still drawing it out. Look at that. Still drawing it out.
Now, I know what you mean. I get really tired of the constant look over here, and the movie's over. I like a nice one that's even paced, that's not for little kids that can't hold an attention span. But in this case, it was too slow even for me. So 37 years, this is the first movie I ever fell asleep during the movie at a movie theater. Oh, that's bad.
And so there was a joke in there somewhere, because I fell asleep during a scene and I woke up during the same scene. I don't know if I started snoring. I don't know what happened.
It's like watching Streets of Laredo.
But I remember drifting off, and my wife leaned over to look at me, and the act of her leaning woke me up. And it was the same thing going on screen.
Yeah,
and I told somebody that, and I said, well, I only missed a few seconds. And they said, it could have been 2 hours. Because it's just so slow. And so that is a big problem. There was nothing there to grab my attention. the problem is they were relying on these slow builds towards the twist, and we build towards this twist, and then when we get there, it's like, here it is. This is what you waited for, and what we waited for was not worth the build to get there. The time, the slow pace to get there.
I half agree. I mean, I thought the twists were worth waiting for, but for not quite for as long as they made us wait for them. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, I agree the wait was too long, but the twists themselves I thought were great. I didn't see any of them coming. They had me going one way and then the other, and I appreciated that.
Well, see, I thought the twists were mediocre. There was one good one that I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I did not see that. But most of them, there was no explanation for what happened. Like, here's a twist, but it's just a twist for the sake of being a twist, and you're like, but that goes against everything you've set up, and that goes against the people, and I what?
But doesn't that make it a lot like the first movie?
Yeah, and I didn't like the first one either.
Well, so if you like the first one, hey, you'll probably really like this one.
Which, there was 4 of us in our group, and I actually talked to a 5th person today. Out of the 5, one person really liked the first movie. They really liked the second movie as well.
My wife liked both of them.
And the rest of us that didn't like the first one seemed to be kind of...
I feel
like the second
bad for not liking the first. And it's not that I don't like it.
And see, that's wrong.
It's a complicated emotion.
There's like a stigma attached. It's supposed to be this great sci-fi, and we are nothing if not sci-fi nerds. And
that is accurate. We are definitely sci-fi nerds.
And it's supposed to be one of the greatest sci-fis ever, and I feel the same way about the first one. It's just...
I mean...
Yeah, it's alright. It's pretty.
For both of them, they're both really pretty. And I appreciate the effects they did on both of them. I loved all the rain and stuff in this one. And it didn't even take me out of the story, but just they were constantly flying through rain or fog or stuff, and it just looked really cool. But again, it was slow.
I love the effects.
Beautiful.
In the first one.
Top notch in the first one, absolutely.
Second one, they were good, but it wasn't good enough. It wasn't eye candy for me to sit through 2 hours and 45 minutes.
The bar has been raised pretty high in the last couple of decades, so it's harder to make it that just blow your mind. I mean, when you've got stuff like the Star Trek reboots or Avatar that has just really... They have really done visual effects is what they do, so...
Every woman in this story, every woman in the movie, except for maybe the one-eyed lady, was stunningly gorgeous.
I approve.
Not complaining about that. I'm going to say about 75% of them were naked at some point through the movie.
I do take issue with that a little bit.
Not going to complain about that.
I didn't think you would.
There was absolutely no reason for any of them.
That is accurate. It was not even part of the story.
No.
Just suddenly...
And that goes back to it being slow. It's like, let's just have this scene. Let's just have this scene. And there was no reason for that. And it's like, yay. And I don't understand. There were so many little... 2 hours and 45 minutes. There were so many little, sides. I don't want to say side stories. They were part of the major story, but they didn't actually... You didn't need them. And some of them were weird, and like you would have a character. So I don't think this is a spoiler, but it doesn't matter. I don't care.
Spoiler warning.
So no, I don't think it is. But so Jared Leto, the ever creepy Jared Leto,
he was creepy.
Who is this rich quadrillionaire or something? He owns like half the planet or something, and he is the father of the new replicants. He is the man bringing the replicants back, because there's a period of time where there were no replicants. They stopped making them, and he has an assistant who is a replicant. He calls her Love, and the first part of the movie, she is set up to be the emotional, caring. He did some bad stuff to replicants, and she has the little tears, and she's crying, and you're like, oh, okay, well, she's the moral conscience of the replicant. She's the one that's going to feel. And then all of a sudden, she's just hacking, slashing, stabby, and she's perfectly cool with it, and there's absolutely no problem. And I'm like, but we just set her up.
She did cry every time she killed someone. The tears were there every time.
Why?
She felt bad about it.
She perpetrated it awful easily for feeling bad about it. She was just like, I stabbed you. Oh, you're here. I stabbed you. And it was totally out of character. And there was so many times people were totally out of character.
And I don't know if they were getting into, if that's one of those where the concept, what they were trying to reach for, exceeded their grasp. The questions of the soul.
I don't, but we didn't need that. Ryan Gosling has a virtual, like, holographic girlfriend.
I liked her. She was fun.
She was nice. The idea of the holographic, like, girlfriend, he had a little machine in his house that traveled around the roof to project her so she could go everywhere. It was great. Don't need any of it. She amounts to absolutely nothing. And there 30 minutes of this movie is devoted to her and him interacting with her. And, like, she's just not been there. And someone said, oh, well, she gives him soul, she gives him emotion. Could have done that in 5 minutes instead of 30.
It's machines loving machines. Is that perverse in some way? I don't know.
Well, she was a hologram.
I'm all for it. I say don't ask, don't tell.
So make it a mixed marriage. She's a hologram and he's a cyborg. Also, if you watch the trailers, Batista is a worm farmer, and he plays heavily prominent in the trailers. Harrison Ford is Decker, reprising his role from the first one, and he plays heavily prominent in the trailers.
Yeah, you know why that is, though.
And in a 2-hour and 45-minute movie, they might be in it for a total of 15 minutes combined.
That's fair, yeah.
It's pretty much just Ryan Gosling and so he's a cyborg, and he's supposed to be emotionless.
The moneymaker face, he would do.
It is just...
He was thinking.
He thought an awful lot.
He was thinking about things.
Well,
he was a detective. He had to discover things. Got to think about it.
That made no sense either. He can find... well, that would be spoilers. But, like, they establish... He can do this. He can do this thing. And then at the end, he's like... nobody will be able to do that. I'm like, you just did it. Like, how can we... No. Like, the entire premise of the ending of the movie relies on the fact that no one else can do something in a lifetime that he did in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, surely there's other Ryan Gosling replicants out there. They seem to batch them out.
Yeah.
That made no sense either.
They said they couldn't make them fast enough. Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
Jared Leto wanted to hunt down the old replicants as well.
Yeah.
But he wanted to hunt them down, not to destroy them, but to capture them.
He wanted that secret of how they reproduce on their own.
And the point of him doing that...
I guess to market and sell it? I don't know. That's what it sounded like, but I mean, how do you market that?
And he explained it as he couldn't produce them fast enough in a factory, so he wanted them to reproduce on their own. Well, when he reproduces them in a factory, they come out fully grown. If you do it the natural way, they come out babies. And you got to wait 20 years before their workforce are ready. That doesn't seem like a good way to mass produce something. And the dude owned like whatever giant pyramid castle thing he lived in that was bigger than New York.
L.A. They were in L.A.
I know. I didn't want to use L.A. because they were in L.A.
Sorry,
but if you have that much money, couldn't you just build another factory if you needed more replicants?
You would think so. They could have built it over San Diego. It was just a garbage dump anyway, which was actually pretty funny. Just really. Anyway, I did want to say I thought the actors all did a great job. I didn't feel any flat performances from anybody.
No.
Even all the side guys, they were just doing their thing. They were fine. They were all great. Really, the only thing for me, I liked the story. It's just that as a complete piece, not so. I would give it one more chance just because maybe, but I mean, it was just so slow. So slow. And the number 2 sin in movie making is don't be boring. That is the number 2 sin. Don't do it.
I have watched horrible movies. I have sat through horrible movies. I have never slept through horrible movies.
I've enjoyed 1 or 2 horrible movies myself, actually.
Well, if it's bad enough, it's good. I don't... I probably shouldn't even get in Jared Leto. Like the whole point was he needed to make more replicants faster. Right. He couldn't get enough out. And then he's destroying replicants for no reason. They never gave us a reason for that. It was so weird and awkward.
There was a pretty sizable body count by the end, but it just, so much time passed between the bits of action that there were, it just...
There's no reason. Oh, it's so slow.
Yeah.
I watched the first one when I was itty bitty kid when it first came out.
I've seen that one twice, and I'm still kind of
watched it again when I was a teenager and did not like it, and tried to watch it. Well, I did watch it again as an adult, thinking, I must have missed something. I've had people try to explain it to me. No one can ever give me a reason why it is the greatest sci-fi ever. It's pretty. It is. It is some pretty. Good sci-fi visuals. The twists just aren't there for me. Yeah. Doesn't do it.
So, those aren't there for you?
Nope.
What would you recommend then for a streaming for instead?
Well, so I really get the feeling that Blade Runner is there's supposed to be that moment where you're like, oh my god, it's so mind-bending, and I got a nice nap. So my stream it option is Donnie Darko. Because if you want mind-bending, I love that movie. It has slow parts. Mm-hmm. It has some weird twists, and I have watched that thing about 11 times, and every time I watch it, I think I figure out a little bit more of exactly what is going on, but I have never, and don't think I will ever go, this is what it's about. But it's mind-bending, it's a little dark, but it's mind-bending in a great way. Mm. So that's my recommendation.
Well, I've got a couple. I've got one I'm going to recommend for sure, but I have two runners-up I have to mention because I thought of them so much. First of all, 2001 Space Odyssey came to mind because it's so slow. I love that one though, but it's slow, man. And it's weird. It's got a weird ending. You're not quite sure what's going on, and so it kind of in that same vein.
You're not going to say Interstellar for the
No. Though I do love that movie.
I know it.
I also thought of, oddly enough, the recent movie version of Ghost in the Shell. Not so much. I mean, not for the weird factor. It had some of that, mostly because they both were questioning like the soul and what it is to have one versus not have one, and where is that line, which was interesting. They had that in common. The visuals, though, mainly, like the big mega city with all the glowy billboards and stuff, was very similar, eerily similar in those two.
Rain.
So I'm going to guess that probably Ghost in the Shell was inspired by the first Blade Runner, maybe. I don't know. I don't know when that timeline... I don't know when the cartoon, the anime was made, but I'm sure those were kind of contemporaries and all inspired each other. Anyway, my actual recommendation, though, I'm going with Dark City.
Oh, yes.
From the 80s.
Yes.
Sci-fi, and it really deals with memories and false memories, which is another thing that Blade Runner has in common, because the replicants are given this backstory and they don't know if it's real or if it's false.
The whole background behind the movie is them trying to figure out what makes a human.
Right, and right, in Dark City. And so basically they've got this city full of people, I guess they're aliens, that's what we decided. And they've got this city that is somewhere, it's never really explained where, it's in space somewhere. And they've got all these people in it, and every night they put them all to sleep and change their memories and move them around and then see how they interact. So it's just bizarre, but this one guy wakes up with no memories at all. And I think there was a dead person there or something.
Yeah,
and so he's on a race to try to figure out who he is, how he got there, who's the dead person, what's going on. And that one's pretty much just a mind bend after a mind bend.
He doesn't go to sleep at night when everyone else
does. Everyone else gets to sleep. He stays awake for it now after he's woken up this one time.
That's a good mind bend.
And apparently he'd had several of those, he had been several people before.
Yes.
And then before that awakening. And so it's really interesting movie, really interesting story. That one really delivers, and it's from the 80s, and I was really surprised at how well it was done. From the first time I saw it. I love it now. It's great. I've seen it twice.
Yeah.
Good movie. So that is all our time. Thank you so much for watching Screen Under Stream It.
And remember, don't take your kids to the movies on Tuesdays, because that's when we go.